Hi, it was suggested to me that I do a take 5 about my current work as a chaplain to Jews for Jesus, which I'm very happy to do. It was about 1 week after I decided to follow Jesus. I was 19 and I went to a church nearby for a concert where 2 amazing Canadian professional musicians, Merv and Merla Watson, who both played at least 4 instruments each and had them all lined up on a table in front of them and swapped instruments even within the same song. And then they shared how they came to faith in Jesus from Jewish backgrounds and how important it was for all Christians to reach out to Jews who don't know that their Messiah has already come, Jesus, or in Hebrew, Yeshua. It made sense to me as a young believer. Obvious, I thought, without the Jews, we wouldn't have the scriptures, we wouldn't have the Ten Commandments, which forms the basis of about 75% of the world's legal systems, including our own. We wouldn't know about this Jew, Jesus, who has become the most significant historical figure in the world. Several years later, I had another Jewish friend who had found that Jesus was his Messiah. And he asked whether I would be one of his board of directors, as he was going to lead a branch of Jews for Jesus in London, and he needed to find 3 directors for his board. I agreed. And Jews for Jesus had started in the hippie environment in San Francisco in the 60s, with the likes of Bob Dylan, Larry Norman singing on the streets. The founder was a Jewish Baptist minister, Moshe Rosen, who just wanted to tell other Jews about Jesus. Now, London was the first branch to be set up in Europe. 4 years later, I found myself chairman of this board at such an exciting time as the work expanded to France, Germany, Switzerland, Hungary, Belarus, Russia, Ukraine. We had become a European board, having meetings in 4 different languages. 30 years later, I retired from church ministry, my last post being St. John's, Broadbridge Heath, outside Horsham. And the executive director said to me, as soon as he heard that I was retiring, "Would you be the chaplain for Jews for Jesus?" I said, "Yes." My wife said, "As long as it doesn't take up all your time, you're meant to be retired." Well, apart from the USA and Europe, I was to be chaplain to Canada, South Africa, Israel, and Australia. And the plan was to lead spiritual retreats in all 19 branches in 11 countries, and then be available for counseling to the worldwide staff. We reckoned on average it would take up about 1/3 of my year if we did it in a 2-yearly cycle. Since COVID, of course, I haven't been able to travel, but nor have I been able to cap my hours at 1/3. The needs of the staff in such a chaotic and unpredictable time has increased. So I've been able to set up a team for staff care that provides resources, mainly in English and Russian. And of course, all my work is on Zoom. Every week I lead about 3 devotions somewhere in the world and engage in counseling folk who are struggling. The mission has conducted services on Zoom. We've prepared webinars, and in many places, we've been able still to talk to people face to face. In fact, more Jews have come to faith through live chat on the web than during the previous year. So let me give you a flavor of what's happening so that you can pray for the ministry of Jews for Jesus. In Belarus, ministry has become the most challenging, not just because of the pandemic, but because of the severe civil unrest brought about by the elections in that country a month or so ago. Thousands of people have been arrested for simply being on the streets, whether they participated in any of the demonstrations or not. But despite these challenges, our Minsk team has continued to venture out to minister face to face with Jewish people, as well as continuing to conduct Bible studies and evangelistic services online. In Paris, we hosted a conference on anti-Semitism about 2 years ago. Several rabbis and Jewish leaders also took part. And as a result, our Paris branch has had an unprecedented relationship with one of the synagogues. We've held services for their congregations with them. We began to study the Bible and give out New Testaments to many within the synagogue leadership. One lady, who is the president and founder of a Jewish organization, has asked to study the Bible with her and her husband. In London, until recently, we had a large office building in Hendon with a large 50-foot sign saying Jews for Jesus over the frontage. One Jewish lawyer was passing in her car and was, at that moment, considering the relevance of her Jewishness. Jews for Jesus, she said to herself. That's a thought I've never had before. She later dropped into our office to inquire more about this thought. 3 months later, she came to faith and now volunteers occasionally with us. In the States, the fastest growing Jewish population is the ultra-Orthodox Jewish community, the Haredi. Maybe you've seen the film Unorthodox, recently released on Netflix, which explains the kind of life these folk lead. So we've now launched outreach teams to reach Haredi women and Haredi men. Through social action or just entering their communities, we've seen some fruit, but it's very slow, as you would imagine. Most are happy to talk about Jesus. And the women's group have been able to secure housing, social services, and spiritual care for a young Haredi woman who wanted to leave her community. Recently, an ultra-Orthodox Hasidic man contacted us through the website and eventually prayed to receive Jesus as his Messiah. When the pandemic hit in March, he stopped communicating. And then in July, he reconnecting, saying he'd been listening to our audio messages and confirmed that he believed in Jesus 1,000%. We learned that he had been off the radar because he'd actually contracted COVID and he lost a family member to the virus too. He and one of our missionaries are going through the book of Hebrews together now. In Israel, we have teams working with soldiers, the homeless, those in addiction. And we've seen so many come to faith, and many, including rabbis, are reading the New Testament. One missionary spent time with an addict reading John's Gospel. After withdrawal, he asked for a copy of this book, which he felt had made him stronger. Soon he had read the entire New Testament, enthusiastically sharing how he loved God and believed that he had given him the strength to break free from drugs. He said, "If this isn't Jesus who did it, I don't know who it is." Well, there's a quick taster. I'd value prayers for energy and freshness in this privileged position of support for our missionaries in Jews for Jesus worldwide. Thank you.
Open up, you ancient doors, fling wide, you gates, and let the King of glory come in and take his place. Open up, you ancient doors, fling wide, you gates, and let the King of glory come in and take his place. We want to see you lifted high above all things and crowned as King, King of glory. For you are good, and we will sing and shout your praise, King of glory. of glory.